Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Naruto issue number 3 from IDW. We finally have something happening in this issue. The plot finally progresses more than just a snail's crawl. So we start off with Team 7 and the Turtles just jumping around Big Apple Village, which is basically just all of New York City packed together. So we see like the Statue of Liberty, but it's in the middle of the city rather than out in the water. So it's basically just like New York City, Manhattan, all that stuff just kind of packed together into one big ninja village, which always seems to be perpetually at night. And we just have them jumping around buildings, going sightseeing until they come across a group of Foot Clan ninja harassing some civilians. And the Turtles are like, just wait here. This will only be a second. And then they go down and they beat the Foot Clan pretty easily. It's all off screen and done in 2 panels. And then Team 7 joins them and they go and get some pizza. And so we've spent like a third of this issue with nothing happening. And that's been my biggest problem with this series is you have Naruto, one of the biggest manga series ever. People who don't even read manga or anime are familiar with Naruto for the most part. And you have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, one of the biggest, most popular, famous comic book franchises ever. And you have a crossover with them and you've wasted 2 full issues and a third issue doing nothing. We're just having the gang just going around, jumping around Big Apple Village. This is the biggest problem I have with this series is that there's a lot of nothing going on. Thankfully, this issue finally does pick up, but it doesn't even do it right from the get-go. We're like a third of this issue in before things finally happen. And so we cut to Foot Clan Castle, and Splinter and April have been kidnapped. Shredder is there, and he's just kind of mocking them and taunting them and just not really doing much other than that. He's like, it's true that I'm using you as turtle bait, but I also have Stockman's scroll and I have the ooze. And he basically pulls out the scroll and it's like a weird looking panel where it looks like he's swiping his hand through the scroll and the scroll is kind of like disappearing almost as if it was an illusion. And then he's holding the ooze. I know what he's trying to do is, because like in Naruto, you can use summoning seals and you can put things into scrolls and then you can summon the items out. That's what's going on here. But just the way it looks is really weird because in Naruto, you usually unroll the scroll, you go to whatever symbol you want, and then you touch it, and then there's like a poof of smoke, and then the item comes out. Whereas here, it almost looks like he's breaking the scroll, but he's not because the scroll's kind of vanishing rather than shattering. It's just a weird looking panel. He's basically just saying, he has the ooze. He's going to be able to show the world true power. And then we cut to the Turtles and Team 7 and they go back to their lair where they find it ransacked and they realize that Splinter and April have been kidnapped. And then back at the Foot Clan castle, we have Shredder and he uses the ooze and he starts pouring it on his fellow Foot Clan. And then we have Alopex, who is the fox ninja girl that we saw in the first issue. And she's just kind of wondering, like, is this what it means to be immune? And I'm just kind of wondering, aren't you immune? Like, what are you? Are you a summon? Are you immune? Because there are talking animals in Naruto, but they're summons. And I don't think she's a summon. I think she's supposed to be, like, immune. So shouldn't she know what immune is like? Why does she say, is this what it's like to be immune? A monster. When she's one herself. Maybe she's not immune. Maybe she's something else. But what exactly is she? But Shredder uses the ooze on some of his Foot Clan. They transform. But they don't transform into mutants. It's very weird because this ooze was supposed to be like a mutagen. And it's supposed to transform you into mutants. Instead, it just kind of almost looks like almost grows like crystals on them. It almost feels very much like Guruen from Naruto with the crystal release. It's almost that's what it kind of feels like. It feels like they're almost just kind of growing like almost crystals on their body. It's not crystals. It's not a crystal release. I'm just saying that it just kind of reminds me of that. It's not really them turning into mutants, which is what's confusing to me. And then Shredder says to kill Alopex, which again, confusion. She works for you. She's one of your soldiers. She's done everything that you've asked. She helped you kidnap April and Splinter. Why are you going to kill her for no reason? It just feels like, okay, Shredder doing something terrible because he's evil, which that's fine. But I would like an explanation why he would kill one of his fellow soldiers who's done nothing wrong. But then that's when Team 7 and the Turtles break in and start battling. And we have Sakura actually being competent, which is just surprising to me. I mean, I guess it shouldn't be because I didn't think, a Western comic would. I mean, we know how Western comics treat female characters, and it's fine. I don't mind that she's competent here. I kind of wish that she was more competent in the Naruto series because she was just freaking terrible. She is a terrible character, which is a shame because she has a lot of potential to be something better, but she was just god awful in that. And she's actually competent here. My only issue is that she's more competent than Raphael. And I'm like, really? Sakura of all characters? Sakura is better at fighting than Raphael. She's able to save Raphael's skin and he thanks her for it and stuff like that. And I'm just kind of like, Sakura? Sakura of all characters is going to be more competent at fighting than Raphael. Really? Okay. But they basically do the fastball special where Sakura picks up Raphael and throws him. And he is able to defeat the quote-unquote mutant that way. And then we have Leo and Kakashi teaming up. And they're unable to get through this one mutant's armor. So they basically do a Chidori katana stab. Basically, Kakashi does his Chidori, and at the same time, Leo puts his katana right next to Kakashi's arm, or hand, I should say, and they both stab the opponent at the same time, which kills him. And then we have Donatello teaming up with Sasuke, and Sasuke is talking about how his Sharingan can protect every single movement from the enemy. Donatello is like, yeah, well, my brain can do the same. And then Sasuke is able to pick up where the enemy's weak spot is using the Sharingan. And it's been a while since I've read Naruto, but I don't think the Sharingan actually does that. Then again, the Sharingan does a lot of bullshit moves. I hated the Sharingan. I thought it was cool at first when it was just able to kind of predict enemies' movements and maybe kind of copy the abilities. But then it felt like Kishimoto just started throwing more and more and more and more BS onto the Sharingan, and now the Sharingan can do all these things, and it's just okay, this is just super overpowered. The thing I hated the most was when the Sharingan is able to mutate into the Rinnegan, and I'm just of all the characters to give the Rinnegan to, I'm probably butchering that pronunciation, but whatever. Why Sasuke? Why not Naruto? Seeing as Pain and Naruto are both Uzumakis, and Pain's Rinnegan was his by birth. He is part of his bloodline. So why the hell would the Uchiha have the Rinnegan when it's part of the Uzumaki, or at least this Uzumaki had it? It would make more sense for another Uzumaki to have it, but that's neither here nor there. There's so much I can complain about when it comes to the Naruto manga. For as awesome as the universe is, I think Kishimoto's execution of it was pretty bad at times. But yeah, Donnie and Sasuke team up, and then we have Naruto and Michelangelo teaming up, which who couldn't have predicted that? Really, of all the characters for Naruto to really befriend and team up with, Mikey makes the most sense. They're both goofy goobers. They both like orange. It makes sense. So yeah, they do a Uzumaki Angelo barrage instead of a Uzumaki Naruto barrage. And I was like, okay, that's kind of cool. So all the mutants are taken out. It's just Shredder left, and he uses the ooze. He drinks it, and he becomes Super Shredder. And that's how this issue ends. And it's one more issue to go, and then we're done with this series. All in all, I think this was the better issue. We finally had things happening, but I think the biggest issue is that we took too long to get there. We are 3 issues out of 4 before something finally happens. We had 2 issues of nothing, just dragging the story, and then we had a third of this issue with nothing, just dragging the story. Now we finally had the confrontation between Team 7, the Turtles, versus Shredder. What I would have done was I would have started issue number 1 with April being attacked by the Foot Clan as she's trying to escape with the ooze. And then the turtles show up and they're able to save her. And then afterwards, she mentions how I need to go talk to a great medic in regards to this ooze. And then we immediately cut to Konoha where we see April's there and she had just talked with Tsunade, and Tsunade gives them a mission, Team 7 a mission, to escort April back to the village. On the way back, they could have been attacked by some Foot Clan soldiers, and then the issue could have ended with with the turtle showing up. Then issue number 2 could have been April and Splinter staying at the lair so that they can do some research on this ooze and stuff. and the mutagen and Baxter Stockman and all that jazz. Meanwhile, they send the Turtles and Team 7 to go try to gather information out in the city. So while April and Splinter are like trying to gather information like at the lair and maybe going through like scrolls or whatever, just trying to find, or maybe just trying to do research on the ooze, Team 7 and the Turtles are trying to find information out on the streets. And then along the way, while they're doing that, they could have been attacked by Foot Clan soldiers. And then we have like a big fight scene where we have the Turtles and Team 7 teaming up to battle the Foot Clan. And we could have had like a pretty cool, awesome fight scene. And then eventually Team 7 and the Foot Clan start getting the upper hand. And we could have had like the Turtles taunting them. And then the leader of the Foot Clan, like for this little group, could have been like, beating you was never our mission. It was never our objective for this fight. We just needed to distract you long enough. And then the Turtles freak out and they realize, oh my God, while we were so busy fighting the Foot Clan here, we had left April and Splinter by themselves at the lair. And so they rush over towards the lair, and then the cliffhanger could be that the lair is completely in ruins and April and Splinter are kidnapped. They're gone. And then issue number 3 can start with Splinter and April being taunted by Shredder. So basically, we're kind of having things go more faster pace. Whereas here, it drags too much. We have just a lot of nothing, a lot of just filler, which is just a big shame. And it's kind of confusing because I have reviewed a bunch of ongoing comic book series where I complain about the pacing, about how the pacing is way too fast. Meanwhile, here we have a mini series and the pacing is too slow. And it should be the other way. Ongoing series should have a more slower pace, while mini series should be more faster paced because you have only a limited amount of issues to tell your full story. But this series is it drags on way too slow. It's turtle time, basically. It's slow as hell. And it's not until issue 3, like the final 2/3 of it, where things actually happen. I really want to say it's more like the last half of the issue, where Shredder like finally mutates his Foot Clan, and we get the cool fight scene, and then we have Shredder drinking the ooze himself. It's not like until like the last half. So really, we have like 2.5 issues of just nothing, and then we have half an issue where things actually pick up, and now we only have one more issue, and then we're done. So we're probably going to have a fight between Team 7, the Turtles, and Shredder. And I'm guessing that the Fox Girl is going to end up helping the Turtles and Team 7. And then we're going to have our like goodbyes, and that's the end. And it's just like we could have speed run this a little bit more faster. And we could have immediately started issue number 3 with like a couple pages of Shredder talking about his plans and stuff like that. And then we could have had the break-in. And then we could have had a pretty cool fight scene. We could have Shredder drinking the ooze. And then Shredder's fighting the Turtles and Team 7. And the cliffhanger could be that he's beating the hell out of them. And it looks like he's going to finish them off. It's like, oh no, will our heroes be able to survive this encounter? Tune in next time. And then issue number 4 could have been the fallout from that. Like it could be the turnaround. The Fox Girl ends up joining the group, and she ends up turning the tides. And then they all band together and they're able to defeat Shredder. And then they're able to like do something with Stockman. Like Stockman's not even in here. And it's like this whole thing started with Stockman, and Stockman hasn't even shown up. So I just think we could have written this in a way so that it's a lot faster and a lot more engaging rather than just the super slow speed that we've been given. But at least we're picking up kind of. But now I feel like the final issue is just going to be like a huge speed run to the finish. So it kind of feels like we have 2.5 issues of nothing, and then we have 1.5 issues where we speed run everything and get our conclusion. I guess we'll see if that's what happens. Yeah, I'm kind of disappointed because I freaking love Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I don't love Naruto, but I don't hate it either. I read it when it was out. It was one of the first series. I don't want to say it was the first series that got me into manga, but it was one of the first series that I was reading when I got into manga. Basically, my friend would buy a bunch of Weekly Shonen Jump magazines, and he brought a stack, and I was like, oh yeah, sure, I'll check it out. And it just so happened to be the magazines where Naruto first started. It was like Naruto issue number 1. And so I read that and I was like, oh, this is kind of interesting. It wasn't my favorite series to read from that magazine, but I thought it was entertaining. So, I never expected this crossover to happen. I was looking forward to like something more happening. I'm pretty sure you can probably find someone to write a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Naruto crossover fanfic, and it would probably be more entertaining than this series has been so far, which is kind of sad. The series has just kind of been a disappointment. Thankfully, this is like the best issue in the run so far, but that bar is very, very low. But there you go. There's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Naruto issue number 3 from IDW. Things are finally picking up, but it feels like it took too long for that to finally happen. At this point, I just want to see it end. Anyways, hope you enjoyed the video. Hope to see you next time. Take care. Later. Thank you for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you didn't, I still want to thank you for watching it this far, and I hope the next one is more to your liking. With that said, thank you once again, and I hope you guys and gals have a good one. Later.